still don't trust what the headlines say. That's okay. We think that they want us to be laid in a grave. We do our best, we pray and we pray for a change. We put the us in the USA every day. We put the us in the USA. We're the diesel trucks on the interstate. Flags in our yards where our children play. Stars and stripes and rattlesnakes. And it's me and it's you and it's red, white and blue. With American dreams and taxes. We want World War II. We put man on the moon. Well, depending on who you ask. We put the us in the USA. 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 We still don't trust what the government claims is to blame. And the media says the country is safe, but it ain't. We do our best, we pray and we pray for a change. We put the us in the USA every day. We put the us in the USA. We're the reason why America's great. It's the home of the free and the flags we wave are the stars and stripes and rattlesnakes. And it's me and it's you and it's red, white and blue. With American dreams and taxes. We want World War II. We put man on the moon. Well, depending on who you ask. We put the us in the USA. We put the us in the USA. We put the us in the USA. We put the us in the USA.
Oh, gonna make it big. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is Friday again.
It is.
Yep. But it's a very, very important Friday because it is July the 3rd. It is the day before we celebrate our independence and our freedom. And so I built a patriotic live tonight. So I hope you guys don't mind. You know, it's very interesting to me that quite often, people say things to me like, how do you not love your country? And, things like that. And the truth is it's exactly the opposite of all of that. And, if you, are you going to make it over there, buddy?
I'm trying to scoot on, but I still...
It's exactly the opposite of that. If you're okay with, child exploitation, if you're okay with $40 trillion in debt, if you're okay, with mass surveillance, if you're okay with all those things, you're not a patriot. Being a patriot means you stand up to injustice. And, I complain about our government a lot and I can't stand it. And I bitch about, Trump and I bitch about Biden and I do all of those things. But the truth is I love my country. I love the red, white, and blue. I love what it's for. I love the history of it. And I read about it all the time. And so I just wanted you guys to know, and that I say this tonight, you can be a patriot and not like Trump. You can be a patriot and not like Biden. You can be a patriot and not like $40 trillion in debt. You can be a patriot and not like those kinds of things. It isn't, either you love the state or you don't. That's not how that works. Patriotism come long before all of those things. And we're going to talk about patriotism a lot tonight. And we're going to actually dive into history a little bit, which I'm super excited about. I know you're excited, right?
I love history. I should have had some coffee. Keep me awake.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. If those who don't understand it are doomed to repeat it.
Heard that before.
Yeah. And so it's an important part of my life and I love to read about it. But first things first, what we probably should do is get some hellos in, right? You agree?
I agree.
All right. Well, first we want to welcome in. The very first comment tonight was from Deep South Homestead. So hello, B and Tag. Hello back at you. We did a live together. I've got a slide for it later, but we did a live together earlier in the week, and it was a lot of fun catching up and, a lot of fun visiting with Danny and Wanda. We haven't done it in a while. And, we both said we're going to do it more often because they're good people, and it's a lot of fun to have those conversations with them. Jules was in next. Welcome. Squatchy himself is in, said he missed the worm. Early bird gets the worm. Nidos is in the house. I know there's some good news on your front, maybe a tiny bit frustrating, but at the same time, that is good news. Jane Marie, welcome in. Jean Manquet, happy 3rd to you, and tomorrow, happy 4th. Carrie Davis says, howdy, real and imaginary freedom friends. City Greens, happy 250th birthday. The greatest name on the internet is in the house, as is Life with Mike and Jen. Jen, how are you? I will see you soon. Let's see here. ACM Homestead, good to see you. Let's see here. I'll put this back on the screen. I did it once already, but it says Happy Independence Day weekend, freedom fighter family. Welcome to another great evening, sharing together our regular scheduled unprogramming get together. Amen. Dana Green, welcome in. Harry Davis was singing. Yep. Harry Kent Hempworth says him and Paula are present. Tagging these Thursday YouTube podcast with Danny and Wanda was heartwarming. Remember the reason for the 250th Independence Day celebration in our Constitution. Couldn't agree more. Bessie Darlin, welcome in. No lives complete.
Without a pack rat.
That's a fact. Mrs. Hacks is in the house. They happen to be the freest people I know. And we're going to talk about freedom tonight. Will be cool. Good to see you. Let's see here. Silver Lining says, hello, freedom friends from Northeast Kansas. Wait, what? Yeah. We are blessed to have Silver Lining in the house. And she'll be
in the house.
In the house, literally.
In the house.
She will be here through the festival weekend. And maybe after that, don't know. But we're super happy to have her. We've become great friends. And I think she's probably sitting down in my living room watching the live would be my guess.
We should have made her come up here.
Yeah, not really sure. Anyway, Indiana Mike, ahoy back to you. I did get your message. I will square you away. I just haven't had a chance to respond to it because I was getting ready to do the live. Lazy Loper's in the house, says good evening all. And I know that she's taking care of Squatchy good. Life with Mike and Jen. Jen says, I'm fantastic and looking forward to celebrating freedom and independence with some great friends. Yeah, and we're going to have an absolute blast. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and we're going to have a great day. But the week leading up to it,
I was going to say, it's going to be great the whole time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work the week leading up to it.
Already having a great time.
We're scrambling.
That's true, too.
Yep. Mario Mike says, happy Friday to all you groovy homesteading patriots. Thank God for our freedoms for the last 250 years and for all of those who served and those who paid the ultimate price for it. U.S., U.S., U.S. Ed's in the house says, saying hello before I go float in the pool with the grandkids. Well, Ed, I'm going to tell you something. There are a few things more important than floating in the pool with the grandkids. Yeah, and
I agree.
You agree? Bonnie Sign, welcome in. How's Florida? So I thought real quick, I want to share before we get into bee stuff. I just want to share a picture mainly because Ed, inspired me to do this. But Bee and I welcomed our second grandbaby this week.
We got a girl.
Yeah, that's right. So Bee and I are now grandparents of 2 little girls.
Yeah.
And we're very, very excited about it. And, I can't wait.
I think she looks like her mom.
Yeah.
And I think the first one looks like her dad.
Yeah. How wonderful is that?
And we got one of each.
Yep. One of each, which is a super cool thing. And again, we are super, super, super excited.
Yep. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's happy.
Jen says
doing good.
Their truck looks like the pack out section from Home Depot. I know that. Your man.
How lucky to have all that.
Yeah, amen.
Huh? I mean, that way your stuff doesn't get lost on the highway.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to spend this next week, guys, getting ready for the festival. So the first thing I'll tell you is we're not going to do a live next week. I'll explain to you why here in a little bit. But we're going to have our hands absolutely full. We are thinking that we might have as many as 300 people here. We'll see how it goes. Also,
we should have a counter.
I think that would be a great job for you.
No, I mean,
just mean somebody else
at
the counter.
The gate. Whoever's at the gate, like 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 2, 1, 2.
Yeah.
No, wouldn't that be cool? Just go.
Yeah.
195.
We'll have to get the head. We'll have to get the head of security and ask them if they're willing to do that.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I just thought it'd be interesting to know.
So we always post security at our events, and so there's someone at the gate. You can't get in unless they allow you to be in, and so we'll maybe see if they can do that. Real quick, Parsons Road is in the house, and we talked about them a little bit last week. Great YouTube channel. You guys should go check them out. Tell them Tag sent you. But just as importantly than that, one of these days we're going to get them all the way out here to play their brand of music right there at the community building, which would be super excited. Parsons Road on that said, we just found out we have another on the way. Yeah, what a
Oh,
blessing.
congratulations.
What an absolute blessing. Terminator's in the house. Good to see you. Yep, love it. So thank you guys for all the congratulations. It's it's interesting about the legacy you leave behind, and what is that legacy? Did we teach our kids to just roll over and take safety? Did we teach them to stand up for what's right? And it matters, you guys. It absolutely matters. Our founding fathers will live forever because they did the hard thing, right? They didn't take the easy way out. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. Remember in the movie Troy, when the little boy walks up to Achilles and he says, man, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. He's the biggest guy I've ever seen. And Achilles looks down off his horse and he says, son, that's why no one will ever remember your name. And, I'm so thankful that we have people that come before us that weren't afraid. Now, that's probably not fair. They were afraid. They did it anyway, right? I'm sure they wanted to go home. I'm sure they didn't want to be in there. They'd much rather be out there farming. They'd much rather be doing those things.
Too, because like when you talk to a bunch of, well, even I was going to say youngsters, but even back in my day when I was in high school, there were so many kids who were like, I want to be an actor, and now there's a bunch of youngsters that are like, I'm going to be an actor. And we're like, why? Why do you want to be an actor? They're like, well, so I can be famous so people know my name. And it's like, you could make an impact and have people know your name by other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Then, like, just getting that brain turning with the people who are the youngsters who are just going to school and learning that there's only one way, right? There's only one way to financial security. There's only one way. You got to go to college. Mm-hmm. There's only one way to somebody knowing your name. You got to be an actor. There's only, you don't have to go to college to make something of yourself. You don't have to be an actor for people to know who you are. You don't have to,
you have to work hard. And just as importantly, you have to believe. I've had a lot of people in my career, and I had a very successful career before I left it, ask me, man, how do you make money? And how do you make money? And,
right.
And I always tell people, quit chasing it. Find a cause.
Something you believe in.
Chase the cause. Chase something you believe in. And that by itself will fix it. You don't have to, I promise you chase money, you'll never catch it. You got, excuse me, you got to chase something a lot bigger. But I am, real quick, Zach from Unique Prepping's in the house. There's another good YouTube channel. You want to talk about someone who fights through? Right there. Definitely go check him out and tell him Tag sent you. The king himself, Jeff, Juicy, Hefty, Lefty, Amazon, Mud Dogger, Slick. Phyllis is in the house tonight. Good to see you. Let's see here. Terminator says, right there. Terminator says, Tag, we had bylaw in to inspect the work, and they said they have no words. It's beautiful, and so far we can stay in our buildings until we rebuild. Wonderful. Let's see here. Stan Gunther's in the house, and the beautiful Louise Wesley is joining us tonight. Says, Woo, just got our straw unloaded for winter prep. Ben said wheat berries will be coming next. Love that. We'll definitely get in on that deal. Isn't it crazy how when you live this life, Lou, you're chasing the weather all the time? They're preparing for winter.
Yeah. Getting straw.
95 degrees outside. Yeah, it's just starting summer. But right. Already on that. So that's great. Yeah, Zach says, this week I had to transplant my zucchini to raised bed. Got too big. Love that. Yep, love that. So anyway, think about that. Think about what we leave behind and think about how we live forever. And we live forever through our children and through their children. And if you can pass on those beliefs and those commitments, through them. I talk to my kids all the time about it. And I think with it, we have a chance to do that. That's important to me. Important to you?
Yeah.
Is it?
I was thinking about Roots.
Okay, what about Roots?
Okay.
You're a weird...
She's always telling the story, and she's like, she passes that along to her kids, and she makes it, she's passionate about it, and she knows that this is the story I'm going to let them know so that...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which is super,
and she's
super
like,
cool.
This is my father!
Yeah. Yeah, Parsons Road says leaving a legacy is so important. It is. It's the only thing of value we have, because we can leave money, but it's just going to get spent, right? We can leave all kinds of things, but at the end of the day, if you can leave a belief structure, if you can leave a work
way
ethic,
of life,
You can leave a way of life. Another good one, a commitment. A commitment to do something bigger than ourselves. I don't stand up for freedom for me, although that definitely is nice too, because freedom only works if it works for everybody. Right?
That is such a hard lesson for some
Oh
people.
my goodness, it is. It is. I can't tell you how many people get mad at me because I talk about, I welcome the left. I welcome the Muslim. I welcome all of them. If you can, regardless of race and creed and sex and all of those kinds of things, community absolutely matters. And if you can stand and say, hey, freedom matters and I want everybody to have it, it's all good by me, whether I agree or disagree. And in some of those cases, I would completely disagree, but it doesn't matter.
Didn't you just get into that?
Yeah.
Where you had a person that was like, I'm mad at them. And you were like, well, they have a right to do what they're doing. And they're like, I don't like it. And he's like, you have a right to not like it, but they have a right to do what they're doing. Right. I mean.
Yeah. Hey, American Roots Farm, welcome in, by the way. Yeah, the story she's telling you is I'm kind of known in my area for, standing up to the local county commissioners or the school boards or whatever it is. And so people call me all the time like, hey, I want advice. So this one couple's like, hey, I want some advice. My neighbor built a pond and that pond has runoff and it runs through our property and it's making it wet and my trailer house is sinking and blah, 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 all the stuff. And, how do we stop it? I'm like, well, they have a right to do that. If the water ran onto your property, then you can take them to small claims court and go to court for damages.
You have to fight it.
But at the end of the day, there's nothing to do. They have a right. And where I live, if you build a pond, for example, as long as it's 15 service acres or under, you don't need a permit. You don't need to get engineered plans. You don't need any of those things. So he was completely within the law when he built it. There's really nothing to do. And so I was just trying to explain to him that's their right. And you have a right to be upset about it. But, there's just freedom only works if it works for everybody. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people on the conservative right that they scream freedom all the time as long as they believe the way they believe. And now we've got the left screaming about freedom, 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 as long as you believe they want to believe. And it's a complete hypocrisy. And if you don't truly believe if you truly believe in freedom, you will recognize that everyone has a right to live their life according to their own terms, as long as they're not removing the rights of somebody else. Period. That's the end of the story. There's nothing more than that. Now, as soon as they start infringing upon someone else's rights, that's where the problem is, right? All right. Anyway, sorry, right there. Terminator says, my son's boss's wife wants me to teach how to grow vegetables and build a garden. She is getting me a greenhouse 33 by 50 to be able to grow and teach her. I love that.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah. Nito said, build a pond to catch the runoff from theirs and direct it where you want it to go. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. It's so amazing to me when there's any kind of problem, they want the deciders to fix it for us.
Well, sometimes we don't understand what the options are, what we can do. That's why, what come for you to be able to have an open ear for people who don't know where to go, what to do, what are my rights, how I don't like what's going on. And so
then go talk to your neighbor.
Well, maybe I did. And my neighbor was like, pound sand. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I don't like what you're doing. But just like Nito said, if there's got to be a fix for it. So direct the water in a different way, catch the runoff, build your own pond. Maybe that's a solution.
Yeah, but the fix is not to go to the deciders who have us $40 trillion in debt and who traffic children to fix it for us. See, that's the problem. We were searching for answers and we're searching for the decider to make it for us when what we have to do is figure it out amongst ourselves. Again, why community matters, why you throw events and get to know everybody around you. Why when somebody moves in, you go knock on the door and you say hello, right? So that so you begin that process. I've been saying for a long, long time that, future currency, the most valuable currency in our future will be relationships. And the better we hold them,
especially for your neighbor.
Oh, 100%. And it's a social credit score in a lot of ways.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, there's people that I know that if they call me for help, I would drop everything I'm doing to help them because I know they would for me. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Is that social credit score. Mario says, if you change the entry point of the water into the property and the exit point of the water off the property, meaning that you've redirected the flow, you have to get approval. So do so where I'm from.
Approval to do so.
Yeah. No. Well, should we get through? You got anything? Well, let's start with you. You got any? things you want to talk about real quick? We'll get into some garden picks.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just do that so that I'm not,
Okay.
because I'm not sure what all.
Yeah, I'm going to try to kind of go through the garden stuff fast. You know, what's going on around the farm fast because there's so much coming up. And I want to spend some time talking about freedom tonight. And so I hope to get there. But anyway, all right, baby, you're going to have to tell us what all these pictures are because you're the one who...
Oh, we're getting cucumbers, but the plants are looking a little stressed.
Yeah, well, it's because of the heat. I noticed some big changes, and there was I took a picture of the potatoes. These are way down. These used to be big
These
and green.
are the red potatoes,
Mhm.
and they've been hit hard with potato bugs.
Yeah.
They had a few hints of potato bugs. We put DE on them and then rehayed them, and then it rained, and then the potato bugs were like a lot bad. So we've been picking them, and we put DE on them. Mar just thinks that it's time to harvest them.
Well, it is getting close.
It's been the days are up.
Yeah.
Even though I wanted to try to hay them more and get them to grow.
But I think Emma was
Through
right
them.
in that it's getting close to the year, but they did get their butts kicked.
Mhm.
The good news is they got their butts kicked very late in the growing season, which is to our advantage. This is one of the potato crops, and then there's another one. But I just wanted to point out that the heat does stress everything out, and it gets harder and harder. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys are dealing with that.
We got basil everywhere. You can see throughout the plants. That's the green.
Yeah.
That's the big puffy green ones.
Yeah, and they're doing fine.
Yeah, we're harvesting quite a bit of
Yeah, Jen says
big test batch.
dig a test patch. So will you be doing that on Saturday or Sunday, Jen?
Depends on what time she gets here.
Yeah. All right. These
That's
are cucumbers.
the cuke. Yeah.
They're really not growing like they did last year. They're not growing as fast.
I haven't watered or fed or anything them. Plus the fact that the grass was pretty tall in there. I just got through and weed eated it.
Yeah, Nito says I deal with heat stress all the time. Laugh out loud.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was thinking too, like if we could shade cloth this house somehow, because I do have the shade cloth, but if I try to put the shade cloth just over the metal, then if I try to tuck it down, it's going to pop through those tops of those T-posts. So I don't know how to get it over without.
Well, the real problem is you grow so much produce, you can't shade cloth at all.
No,
There's just,
this is
they're
a
just tomatoes.
tomato
They look pretty good.
row. One of the tomato rows.
Yeah. I got some before and after pictures. You guys went through and trimmed them all up and cleaned them all up.
These are the Romas. We got halfway through this row, and then it was.
Jen says digging potatoes is like treasure hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you guys dig them up and you guys decide that they're ready, I'll come in with my skid steer and I'll dig them all up for you. All you got to do is pick them up off the ground then.
We've got a lot of basil in there. I wonder how that would. I need to talk to the girls. We got a girls group.
Gardening
We're calling
club.
it Weeding with Friends.
Weeding with friends.
Weeding with Friends.
So did you call it weeding with friends? Well, why did you call it with weeding with friends instead of planting with friends or harvesting with friends? Was it to motivate the most sucky job of all of it?
Because you harvesting at the end of the year, you're planting at the beginning of the year, but you're weeding throughout the entire year.
Okay.
And that's what you do the most of. I mean, you're constantly weeding, either mowing or weed eating or pulling or cutting. Some of the things have tight, delicate roots, so you have to cut the things around that you don't want so that you're not pulling up the delicate roots.
Yeah. Jen says she's going to use some of that deal when she makes tater salad.
I love potato salad.
Yep. And Nito says transplant the basil before digging the potatoes.
Yeah, we could transplant put the basil put all the basil with put it everywhere else. That would be great.
Look at those beautiful tomatoes. We have lots of tomatoes. We don't have any
Coming.
red. We don't have any red ones.
They're coming.
Yep, here's the other tomatoes. Right, and I would say that the tomatoes aren't growing as fast as they did last year.
Well, no, they were. So they were bushes. They were growing beyond. The suckers were getting big and laying down, and so we'd come in there and cut all of those off, and redirected the main plant up. So if had I've kept up with that the whole time, it would have been concentrating on getting more greenery. But
typically by the end of the year, these tomato plants are completely over the arch, and there's tomatoes dangling down the center.
Kind of. I mean, because when they go to the top, they just start growing up, and I have to like grab them and pull them down and staple them on so that they create a shade in there.
Yep, look, more tomatoes. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that's like a clump of them. That must be like a.
That's in the first arch.
Okay.
So I know because I took it this morning. Most of these pictures I took today. When I get up on Fridays, I go out and take pictures of where all of the harvest is, so that I can share with you guys during the live. But yeah, more tomatoes. It's pretty. So this is, I want to show you guys this. So Just American Roots. She spent the day out there doing that, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back there weed eating.
Yeah.
She started.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she was tucked in there. She was like hiding behind the tomato plants. When I turned around, I couldn't see her because she was shorter than the plants.
Yeah. So this is before. This is them just being big and kind of bushy. But there comes a time where you got to kind of clean them up. And
yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Needs get some airflow through there.
Yeah, much better, huh?
Yeah. Then we can also, when we go to water or we're treating for something, we could direct the nutrients or the water directly at the plant instead of down the whole area.
Hey, RN, welcome in. All right. And you got corn issues. Look at that.
I've got some corn issues.
Look at that bug.
We had the green. It was funny because we were listening to Danny say, "Oh, we didn't have no problems with our corn." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got the green bugs, I've got the brown bugs, I've got the red bugs, I've got the ones with the speckled faces, I've got the flea beetles, I've got the all on the corn Japanese beetles." It was massive. We sat there. First, I was like, all right, well, what are we going to do? We're going to just pick everything. And then we had pulled a couple, and look, there were a couple of ears that were both yellow and white, looking like they were supposed to, because this is a bicolored corn. And the rest of them were very immature, so not ready for harvesting. So a lot of the corn we had taken and kind of peeled back just the tips to pull, and you could see the worms right at the top, and you pull that out of there and close it back up, kind of. We had sprayed kale and clay on the corn, trying to get something to stop. And then, of course, the squash beetles, squash bugs in the front took out that squash plant right there. Yeah. It's like bugs galore.
Yeah, I wonder, how many people think about or plan ahead and say, hey, I'm going to lose 30% of my crop every year.
But 30%, I mean, come on, I can't even get the squashes.
Mm-hmm. Well, the squashes are because those bugs are my friends, and they recognize that I don't want any squash.
So here's the thing. What if you needed the squash for whatever? You can't just never grow squash because you just don't like it, right? I mean, there's people in your community who could really use whatever nutrition that's in that.
I'm glad we all have roles, and that one isn't mine.
No, but if I heard one lady say, I'm going to just get rid of the squash plants because I don't want to bring in those kind of bugs into my garden. And I'm like, but then you don't get those. If you don't try to grow them, you can't have them unless you buy them from somebody else. And the whole point of trying to do it yourself is to try to do it yourself. So if you want cucumbers, you got to go plant them. If you want squash, you got to go plant it.
Yeah. And I think the key sentence in this is, if you want squash.
Squash.
I know. That's all right.
That's all right.
This is a really cool. Remember when I told you guys the story of the cherry tree that blew down and broke right in half? And B says, let's tape it up.
And he's like, this is not going to work.
I mean, there is no way. That thing is broke almost in two. But guess what? And you guys,
I taped it up.
You're hearing it first. B was correct. And it seems to be doing just fine. Now, the cherries that were on it have died off.
I actually think that birds or whatever ate them because they didn't just die. There was nothing left. the fruit was gone.
Yeah, so we tied it back up, and I put an extra T-post in because it was tied to one already, but put an extra T-post in, and then B took her grafting tape, and we actually taped it a stick in there so it would kind of support it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be alive and well. I mean, it's been broke now for a month.
Just under the break has a greenery coming, branches coming, just under the break.
So we may still lose the top of it.
We may, or it might just produce, it's trying to produce new branches.
It's so pretty. I love looking at all the trees.
I did cut a lot of that stuff off of that though, to make it lighter. Yeah.
We got a lot of pruning to do in the winter when it comes time.
Yeah.
But all right, I thought I would show you guys the progression of the elderberry because I think it's pretty neat. You know, they get these big white flowers on them, and we've shown you guys this a whole bunch of times. Hey, Conserve Friends.
They smell so great.
A Conserve Friend says, hello all. Plant squash earlier or later to avoid the pressure of the bugs.
Yeah. Like do winter squash instead of summer squash.
Yeah. That would be a chance. Great. Thanks, Conserve Friends. Now I'm going to get squash in the winter too.
Mm-hmm. Then I can serve it all year long.
Great. Just what I'm looking for.
Lucky fella.
Yep. So anyway, they get these big white flowers on them, and then pretty quick they turn to this. And this is what's going on in most of it right now is they're just starting to grow the berries. And as you guys know from our pictures we show you guys, we have elderberry coming out of our ears. The trees are getting so big, and there's so much of it. I don't even know how we'll get to it all this year.
You call those trees?
Yeah, they're trees. You think they're a bush?
Yeah.
I have a hard time considering anything taller than me a bush, but then pretty quick what happens is you can start getting these purple berries, and you have some of this going on right now.
Yeah. That's why I said I'm going to be in trouble here in about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to have more than you're going to know what to do with.
Yeah.
You know, maybe hopefully if we get a blessing and a lot of that happens while the festival is going on and there's lots of people here, we can make light work of it.
The thing is when we're getting ready for the festival, we're not doing other stuff. We're getting ready for the festival.
Yeah, I'm talking about the day after or whatever. You know? Or maybe even if we get a break sometime in the middle of it. But good news is we will have elderberry again coming out our ears, which is great. I like elderberry and make some elderberry syrup, make some cough syrup, make some
jelly.
Some jelly maybe, which will be pretty exciting.
Be beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, you got to look real close. Goji's. You got goji berries coming on. Look at that.
Just the start.
Yeah. And there's a lot of goji berries on the bushes, but they're such little berries.
Does anybody here do anything with goji berries? Because I have not done anything with them. I'm not a big fan of the flavor.
Why'd you plant them then?
They're supposed to be a superfood. I'm going to feed them to you.
Of course. Why would it be anything else? Right?
I love you. Let me feed you. Taste it.
Yeah. There's your pumpkin row.
Yeah, those guineas keep walking along on the pumpkins. I was trying to grow the pumpkins for the fall festival, or as many as I could. So we planted extra to try to get that accomplished. But this was the path the guineas used before we put the hardware cloth on the field fencing. The guineas used to be able to dip through that fence, and so now they just run up and down that fence line. And I should have known, but I planted the plants directly on the fence line when I should have brought them out.
Well, you planted every other one directly on the fence line.
Yes.
There's a bunch of them that are off. But she's growing these because this is for the fall festival?
Fall. Yeah, because we'd usually do like pumpkin carving or like come October.
Yeah. Yep. So these will be for the September 26th fall festival, harvest festival that will happen in the fall. But they're growing good, and there's a whole row of them. So by the time those things grow out, you'll have vines everywhere. And the guineas in your food forest are a blessing, babe. I mean, you can do a better job by moving that plant out a little bit, but they're an absolute blessing.
Well, they didn't keep track of the potato bugs.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hey, Romans girl, welcome in. Let's see here. Nito says squash bug spray in 1 gallon jug, 5 tablespoons of cold pressed orange oil, 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, and 2 tablespoons of pure Castile soap. Castile soap. Optional 1 cup organic compost tea filled with water. Shake well. And then she goes on to say, spray in the evening, rinse well in the morning to prevent sunburn. Has worked for me for several years now.
Nice.
me put that back up.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yep. I can come back to it.
Okay. Jen says, let them dry and eat them. Vitamin C and anti-inflammatory.
Yep.
There's problems. There's a lot of them. And I'm assuming she's talking about the goji berries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. RN says, B, you can make jelly out of most anything if you just add enough sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Basically.
Yeah, we know that's true. We do know that is true. Look at those apples. Our apples have never produced. This is the first year. And we have apples on, I don't know what, 9 trees?
I thought all of the apple trees
Yeah,
have apples on
how
them.
many apple trees do we have? Well,
Oh,
there's
I
apples
don't
on every
know.
tree, but I don't know either. But isn't that beautiful? And
Yeah,
they're getting
it's a
almost
beautiful
size
sight.
where we can get up there and harvest them. That might be something we could do pretty quick here too. But they're starting to change colors and they're big. This tree's going to be a great tree. We need to trim it up, but we need to get regenerative orchards out.
Yeah.
Give us a big old fruit tree trimming class. But I would like that. I feel very blessed to have apples for the first time. We've had pears before, we've had plums before, but we've never had apples. Yeah, Gypsy says, I'm thinking lots of smoothies mixed with other fruits. To get your goji berries in there. Yep. Yeah, but super exciting.
Oh, I bet you he's
Look at those.
growing goji berries because he's doing all those superfoods.
Yep. Here they come. American Root says, so exciting. Apple vinegar, applesauce, apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot apple crisp, American Roots. Very disappointed. Very disappointed. Scotchy says, make lots of apple cider vinegar. I don't know if I have enough apples to make lots of anything, but we've got a few and super excited because now what happens is, or should happen, is every year they should just get more and more plentiful. And they haven't been attacked much by the bugs, so they all look pretty decent, as you guys can see. We'll just see if they can make it. This is, I think, an Arkansas black apple tree, if I remember correct. But sometimes that stuff's kind of, hard to remember. Look how beautiful. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Like I said, they're changing colors, so as soon as they get changed in color, they're ready. But it looks like they're coming on.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This one's right there by the... Oh, I know where this is. This is in the middle with the onion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Isn't that beautiful, though?
I do think that's a black.
Yeah. Well, the pictures that I took are all of different apple trees. We have several Arkansas blacks, so I could have taken them. Yep, there's another one. Isn't that how beautiful?
Lovely.
Isn't that cool?
How exciting. Things that we planted
Years
ago.
Now, these apple trees are 4 years old, right? I think they're 4
At
years old.
least.
Well, no, the Good Food Forest is 4 years old. We planted them the first year.
We've only been here for 4 years.
No, the Food Forest has been here for 4 years.
I thought we started some of those like from the first year.
No, I had to dig a pond. Remember all that was like? No, it's 4 years.
Oh, yeah. There was quite a bit of field.
Yeah.
I do forget how much dirt you've moved, how much earth you've moved.
A lot.
How it used to look.
Yep. Yeah, where the community building sits used to be solid woods. Where my house was woods. It just had to all be cleared. I'm glad I cleared that when I was 8 years or 7 years younger. That's what I can tell you. You guys remember I showed you this picture last week. This was the Japanese beetle on a cherry tree. Look at that. And so we kicked into high mode and we sprayed neem oil on them, and it kind of made them, kind of retarded in that they just kind of started acting weird. You could brush them right off. So we cleaned it up pretty good, pretty fast. But we went back the next day. Oh, look at that. Oh, Luke the Drifter. Luke, I thought we were buds. What's happening? He says goji berry and squash smoothie.
I bet you wouldn't even notice. Squash is so sweet when you don't know what it is.
Silver Lining says, look at that horseradish. Did I miss the picture of the horseradish? Oh, I don't see the horseradish.
Maybe it was before that.
Oh, it's right. Is that it? No, this is totally on the other side of the garden. Oh, she said that looks like her horseradish. Yeah, they haven't bothered our horseradish at all. But
the Japanese beetles were eating her horseradish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RN says, I found we have cedars with rust disease, and they are a source for apple trees to get rust disease as well. So no apple trees for us. Well, but the cedar rust don't stop you from being able to eat the apple.
Well, and there are some that are
Yeah.
resistant.
Yeah. So like if you get into the Freedom, the Liberty, the Macintosh, the Arkansas Blacks, the Enterprise, those are all
The
cedar,
delicious.
Any of those, they're all cedar apple resistant. So you can also just plant, resistant trees. But anyway, so we built these traps, right? I showed you guys this last week. Yeah, Jen says Arkansas Blacks are more resistant. Yeah. There's about 10 or 12 of them that are pretty resistant. So we built these. These were new for me. I'd never built these before. And we went and just hung buckets all over the fences that cover the gardens and the food forest. And they've got plenty of beetles in them.
I was so not brilliant at all. And I stuck one of those buckets on top of the trash can thinking that it would draw them away from the garden. And the trash man, on top of the dumpster.
Yeah.
And the trash man took my bucket, my trap.
Yeah, they threw it in
Yeah.
What would you expect them to do?
I don't know.
I mean,
I thought they would think that it was a trap and leave it. I don't know.
Okay, so we need to talk about this. So you put a bucket, a beetle trap bucket on top of the dumpster with an expectation that the trash man would know the difference and take it off the dumpster, dump the dumpster, and then put it back on the dumpster.
I actually just didn't know it was trash day. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Probably.
I was like, oh, dang, that sucks. I didn't even get a full day out of that one.
Yeah. RN says, thanks. I didn't know that about rust disease resistant apple trees. Yeah, there's a good handful of them. Nito says wine sap's another one. Yeah, there's a handful of them there. RN, if you just Google cedar rust resistant apple trees, you'll get boom. First one will be a whole list of what they are. So like we've planted Arkansas Blacks and Liberties a lot because they're very resistant. Some of the red and yellow delicious because they're also very resistant.
I prefer red apple.
But in yellow delicious is also really important because it's a kind of a universal pollinator. So, said they don't get out of the truck if they don't have to. All right, let me go back to what we were doing here. Maybe right there. Okay. Yeah, Arlen says, how are your new Japanese beetle traps working? So they're working, but if you guys remember in my videos, I did a video a couple years ago of building a Japanese beetle trap, and man, did they work good. We put them out one day and they were full. These work. There's Japanese beetles in every bucket, but it's a little bit at the bottom. They're, it's not like the other ones. So I don't think that they are as good.
Maybe you need to put a bigger hole.
I don't think so, babe. I mean,
because put a hole. Before that hole was big.
The other traps have a hole the size of like an orange because of the way the trap is. And then I have to, get them held in there because these traps were so much smaller. I put a hole the size of like a golf ball in the center, but I don't think that would be the issue. Let's see here. Jen says, then check the stratification requirements for said cultivar. And Will Be Cool said, none of those apples will produce in the South. Not enough chill hours down here. Yes, but you can produce things I don't have, right? I hear a trade coming on. Apples for oranges, right? Because we can't grow those here. Yep. So this is what's left over after the Japanese beetles came through. This is that same exact cherry tree this week. Now, the good news is there's some bright green leaves coming out of the top, coming out of the sides. It's trying. It's a very young tree, but look what the beetles did to it. And it was in like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
Like it took no time. I mean, boom, they're right on top of you. So we kind of waged the war on multiple fronts. So we used the neem oil. We put out the Japanese beetle traps. And then obviously, bee nets, some things like.
I was trying.
Yeah. So this is a grape. The bees got a net on so they can't eat. And then there's also those guys, the guineas. Because the guineas raise their young in our food forest. They are running up and down eating bugs constantly. And so, but I will tell you guys, here's another great picture. It's a much better picture. You can look against, this is the food forest. If you look against the fence back there, you'll see a bunch of guineas.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the good news about it. The Japanese beetle population is gone. And I don't know which one worked better. I don't think it was the traps because I looked in all the buckets and they're, an inch deep.
Oh yeah, they're.
So it's not those, I don't think. I don't know that the guineas could cause that much trouble that quick because it was literally in a day or 2 days, they're gone. When I walked the food forest this morning, I found a one. And I was looking.
One beetle?
One beetle. And it was on that sandhill plum that got its butt kicked when we were out there last time. And so I don't think that it's the guineas. I'm kind of leaning to believe that maybe we didn't give the neem oil enough time to work. Like we went out there the next day. Maybe it just took a little bit of time, but I couldn't find any.
What do you mean we didn't give it enough time? We gave it all the time. We walked away.
What I mean is before judgment. Because I went out there and I went, okay, this was cool. It kind of worked. Get the beetle traps.
Oh, because you were like, oh, it made them slow, but that's it.
That's it, yeah. And then the next day, there was still some there.
You think it killed them all?
I think that there's got to be something to it because it's hard for me to believe that the buckets that only have an inch in them got all of them. I also find it hard to believe that the guineas got all of them. But maybe. I mean, I don't know. What would take care of a massive Japanese beetle population in 2 days?
Last year, we had beetles for a month.
Yeah, I couldn't find any, babe. I could not find any today.
What about in the berries behind the orchard or behind the gardens? The berries.
I didn't go back over there.
Because the roses that were back there were pretty covered.
Yeah, I didn't go back there. I just looked in the food forest, which is what we noticed getting hammered.
Right.
Jen says, 1 year I sent Danny and Wanda avocados and the post office held them. They thought they were things you pull the pin and throw. They called Danny to verify the sender was legit. Oh my goodness. And Nito says what worked is a combination of all methods. Well, maybe sometimes you just have to, hammer on it, right?
Try this.
Try this.
Well, that's what we did. I mean, we stepped into action as soon as we could.
Yep.
With the neem.
Hey, Lisa, welcome in. Yeah, so it's hard to tell, but anyway, good news is we got it whooped. Well, that issue whooped. The potato beetles, you guys have just been hand picking off, right?
Yeah.
Because you had some people.
They were potato bugs.
Yeah. These are your pictures.
Oh, there's so Jeff was mowing out in the area where people camp, and he found a turkey. Turkey jumped up and walked away, and he stopped and got out of his mower and saw that there was a nest. So we do have a turkey over there with a turkey nest. So I'm not sure how long they've been there or if they're good.
Right. If he's sitting on them, there's a good shot.
I don't know what the mowing conditions are now. I don't know if Matt mowed over there because I'm not exactly certain where they were, and he just got done mowing a bunch of stuff. Remember? Because I was like, oh man, I was 1 day late for getting those seeds. I was like, just
mullein seeds.
You said he wanted to come over and mow the back of the dam.
Which we did.
And I said, oh, before he does, I want to get over there and get those seeds. I've been like mowing around these mullein plants for a while so that I could get these particular seeds. It's not just like regular mullein. It's a different kind of mullein. And I went over there when I was mowing and I would specifically go around them. And I was like, oh no, too late. But they were, I'm sure he scattered those seeds far and wide.
Yeah, you didn't get to it. Yeah. Hey, Skanes girl, welcome in.
And then this picture is cucumbers and basil that
got harvested.
Yeah, Jess harvested and took and made pickles, and then we put the basil in the dehydrator. So that's what's going right now.
That's what's running in the community building?
Yeah.
Yeah, one cool thing that we're learning, because now we have 2 big solar systems, one in the community center and one here. But the community center has a once a week event, right? And then once a quarter big event that goes on. So most of the time there's nobody down there. And so B has been taking her dehydrators and stuff down there.
Putting stuff in it and running it down there.
Yeah. So
plus it doesn't make it hot over here.
Right.
But then I have to go over there to tend to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Nito says next growth cycle B. And we'll be cool. Oh, that's he's talking to Skanes. Anyway. All right, cool. I wanted to show you guys this picture. So this is the community building. I know you guys have seen it a million times, but what I wanted to show you is look at the grass growing in.
The grass and then The cattails are all cut down. The trees are
Yep.
all trimmed up, and
Yep. And a week from, tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, there will be a ton of people. There'll be a big old party going on.
And you can see the tulip poplars there, the freedom tree.
Yep.
Both of them are
Yep.
still
And
there.
they're doing great.
You see the burn ring over there.
Yep. Yep.
It looks beautiful. We do still need to do this area, don't we?
Yeah, there's a lot of mowing still to do.
That's actually probably weed whacking, not mowing, because that's wet.
Yeah. Sunday we'll have breakfast at the community building like we always do. And then a bunch of people are going to come, and we're going to bring weed eaters and mowers, and we're just going to get right back to work and try to get everything cleaned up. Because again, there'll be a bunch of people here, and we got 1 week left. We've had a good head start on it, but I'm just super excited the grass is growing in.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some spots in there. I got to go in there and, get to work on it and try to get it growing, but not before this festival's over for sure. Plus it's too hot. So
yeah,
that's what we're going to get this year, but it's growing. It is absolutely.
I just thought about that. It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. Yeah. I was thinking we should get those air conditioners out of the shipping container and put them in the community building.
See if we can get them to work.
Oh, we can get them to work. We'll plug them in. Right.
I mean, see if we can get them to work along with all the crock pots and stuff, and the ice maker and the.
Well, I wouldn't think you'd have a lot of crock pots going since we're barbecuing, but.
Oh, people always we're barbecuing, but people bring side dishes and they're baked beans and cheesy potatoes, and that stuff is all usually kept warm.
Jen says Mario says he wants to mow. Well,
he's welcome to mow.
Mario, we shall set you to mow. Remember,
we shall set you to mow.
Yeah, remember that's a kind of a quote out of the movie The Stand. Remember when Randall Flagg says to Trash Can Man, he says, "I shall set you to burn."
No,
you don't remember that? Oh, apparently I'm a dork. But anyway,
you just dorked out.
Yeah, festival coming soon here in a week from tomorrow. This is the dam that we got mowed that Bea was talking about, where all of her mulling got mowed down. That's my house in the background. That's the back of my house. But
yes, it looks so good.
Just looking the other way. So look, that whole dam got mowed as far as we could. It was actually tell you guys a funny story. So, hey, Freesteader, welcome in. So I'm sitting in my house. I was actually just getting ready to eat dinner. Yep.
You just cut it open.
Yeah. So Hitch was over here mowing with a skid loader, and he was just diving kind of down in there. And he calls me and is like, "Can you bring the other machine? I'm stuck." And so I drive out there, and almost the entire mower deck that's on the front of a skid steer is buried underneath the water.
It's in the water.
Yeah, it's in the water.
And his front of his tracks are in the water.
Yeah, yeah. And so he's stuck down in the pond.
And I should have recorded it, but I was so nervous. And then because you hooked a chain to it and you were pulling backwards, and the back of the dam, I was like, oh no, like my mommy brain went into like over mode, and I'm like, chain, brake, skid loader off, bad. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like thinking, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Like, who am I going to call?
Yeah.
So
it was fine.
It was a lot easier than.
I took my skid steer, hooked a chain to it. I actually got a picture of him mowing. Not a very good picture, but that's how you mow it. Is you've got a deck on the front, but he actually almost put the skid loader into the pond. But it was cool. Teamwork makes the dream work. So we got through it.
It was yes.
One of the tasks you guys know I've been racing to is to try to get these 2 kennels built so that I have a place to put my dogs. And for those of you guys who follow the channel, you know that one of our dogs got shot by somebody a while back, and she is so terrified. So livestock guarding dog. She is so terrified of bullets and big bangs.
Yeah,
and we're getting ready to do a big old fireworks show. So I needed a couple rooms to lock the dogs up. So these are the 2 kennels. I've been working on welding the gates. And so I'm making the gates. And as you can see on my welding table right there, I just used some old chain link, went and bought some square tube, and I'm just making them. And we'll get them hung. But I've got both of them built. So by the time we do the live again, I'll have them completely installed and all of that stuff. They're sitting in there. The window in the middle between the 2 kennels, I put there so they could smell each other, could touch each other, but they couldn't fight. And so I also built a frame that goes in that and out of chain link. And they're painted. They're in my shop right now. I just need to get them installed. I'm hoping to do that tomorrow because Sunday I'll be wrapped up. So tomorrow's the day that thing gets finished. Hopefully. I need to go get some more spray paint because I ran out. But But anyway, I love to fabricate. I love to work on stuff like this.
It looks great.
Yeah, and they look absolutely great. You guys will see when I show you pictures of them all painted and hung and hinges on and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Dana says, I remember I used to have the CD, The Stand, awesome movie and book. Yeah, one of my absolute favorites, actually. It's one of those movies that when you watch, like every time I watch it, I catch something new.
Yeah.
Like there's another twist or turn that I didn't catch before, or some connection between two people that I didn't catch before. So I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I really, really enjoyed it. But, this was funny. I got to show you guys this. I'm going to take my picture off. There we go. I'll do it that way. So anyway, because we have comedians in our community, we just did this big solar purchase. So we purchased a semi-load of solar panels, and they're going to go to so many different homesteads. They're going to bless so many people. And so I'm always trying to find good deals. And so Indiana Mike posted this picture of Tags Club in our Discord page, and like Sam's Club, but Tags Club. But, and so that was funny, but the moral of the whole story is, we talked about this last week with community. If you can harness the collective purchasing power of community, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot of great deals. And so, where does that lead, and whether that's to animal feed or energy or water or storage, filtration, pumps, fencing, gate, fuel, firewood, food, protein, produce, there's a lot of things that we can do. And so, I would encourage you guys out there who have community, or even the beginnings of a community, start thinking about homestead community buyers clubs. And, it's not about sharing money, because we don't share money at all.
No.
But we get together and, find a great deal on something. And then,
right. We're sharing the purchasing power.
We're sharing the purchasing power. Right. To get them. And so again, we, over 600 solar panels will be showing up at my house soon on the back of a semi truck. Mm-hmm. And they'll go to all kinds of
people are going to come and get them.
Yep.
We're not sending them anywhere.
No,
people said how many they wanted. They put their money in.
Yep.
We shipped it to them, or we will ship it to them.
And they better come quick, because I do not have space to store 600 solar panels.
No,
they're going to sit outside in a pallet until they get
picked up.
But
no, but when the deal is finalized, we'll let them know. And then when the truck is scheduled, we'll let them know. And then when the truck is on their way, we'll let them know. And then, just keeping them in the loop so that.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
But I mean, as much as possible, because there's often times where we're like, oh, it's coming on Wednesday. And you're like, okay, I'll be here Wednesday. And then you're not here because it's Tuesday. And then I'm calling the neighbor going, they're here early.
Yeah.
No.
Good news is, we have lots of support around us.
Yeah.
You could call Jeff anytime and say, come, and he would come.
Yeah.
You could call, Hitch, and they would come. You could call Joe would come, Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that would come scrambling, Hey, buddy, what's up, Dan? Ready? Good to see you. Anyway, I did a live this week with Danny and Wanda from Deep South. You guys should check it out. It's on my channel and on their channel. We had a really good talk. They had went through a big old bad storm with lots of lightning, and actually got hit by lightning. And we were talking about the EMP shield and what it did, and it saved everything. There was no damage other than to the EMP shield itself. So I overnighted them another one out so they could get, kind of all squared away. But it was a good conversation about that. It was a good conversation just about what they're working on. I don't know if you guys know this about Danny and Wanda, but they left their old Deep South homestead, and they bought a new place at Pecan Grove. And so they spent the last couple of years kind of starting over, building a whole new, homestead. So anyway, I'd encourage you guys to go.
Their barn was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like, you got to see this barn.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a time. You got a pretty cool barn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Laundry. The perfect time. Look at that, right at an hour. Don't forget the free setting app is up. Free, always free. We're just going to make another run at trying to continue to build community. We talked earlier about Homesteading Buyers Club.
Right.
What if we could
Right.
expand that to even bigger?
So we could go to the freestanding and get people. Oh, I bet you we could have done that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
so
problem,
here
babe.
comes. Oh, because it wasn't local.
Yeah, the problem is they'd have to
That's
come to
the
me to pick them up,
thing. Yeah.
right? Because I don't.
Not always though. We'll keep.
We could figure out what
Yeah.
shipping would be, but
Well, on something big like that, I can
Yeah.
see. But
Yeah.
you just never know what we come across. We just never know what you come across.
you don't know. And I'm always hustling for something like that. You know, if we
Something
can.
to make our lives
Well,
better.
but think about this, guys. Those solar panels. So we added over 200,000 watts of freedom.
Yeah.
200,000 watts of freedom to our community.
And we didn't necessarily need new solar panels because we have solar panels, and I didn't really want to spend the money on it.
Mhm.
But our first set of solar panels we did get used because we were trying to
Scrabble?
We were trying to just make it as least as expensive as possible.
Mm.
But now I look at the app on our grid down, and I can see the warehouse, and then I can see our house, and I can see that one is
The warehouse is the community buildings. You guys know.
the warehouse, the community building is charging significantly faster because those panels are brand new.
Mm.
And then I'm like, they're obviously the new solar panels are outperforming the old solar panels.
Yeah.
But then he's like, hey, I can get this deal going if you're not interested, we'll just skip it anyway. And I was like, wait, we could replace them. And he says,
Plus, you get them for the barn.
oh yeah, that was the other thing. He said, I need some for the barn anyway, so we have to buy some somewhere. And then he was like, $57 a piece. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, how could you? That kind of made me go, okay, how can we not upgrade the used solar panels? Because for that kind of money,
Yep.
we'll probably never see that kind of a deal again.
Yep. It's proper motivation, gentlemen.
It was on sale.
There we go. Permatoke Farms, Mandy, welcome in. Says hello. Had to harvest 250 sweet potato slips for someone to pick up tomorrow. Oh, what a wonderful gig that is. Yeah,
good job helping out.
Yeah, Permatope Farms says also, yes, interview with Danny and Wanda was awesome. Yeah, I had a great time. Jen says, next hustle, as suggested, Wallapini both buy. Yeah.
That's why I said a truckload of
You don't buy
metal.
You don't buy Wallapinis.
No, you buy metal and they build them. Or bricks or concrete or something like that.
Nito said, I need to ask for a resend to get back on freestanding. First email was sent while I was gone and I can't seem to find it. Yeah, just do it again. It'll pop up again. But anyway, we got that. No live on Friday. I told you about this, right? So there's
that.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. So we've got a guy in our community. His name is Russ. He's an older guy, and his health is failing fast, and his birthday's on Friday. And so the whole community is going to come together and throw him a big birthday party Friday. And it's the night before the festival, which is going to make it stressful as can be because there's so much going on. But he is worth every bit of it. This is the guy that built my pond. He helped build lots of people's ponds. He's given of himself on many different occasions. There was a time where he owned the second largest excavating company in Kansas and lost it all for a myriad of reasons. And got real poor, again, for a myriad of reasons. But anyway, he's my buddy and he's very close to B. And in fact, B can get him to do anything pretty much. Right?
Yeah, we love him.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to throw a big birthday party for him. And so I won't have time to do the live. I apologize, but, it's a priority issue. And I get to do a lot of lives, in fact, I think this is the 265th live we've done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'll have lots of opportunity to continue to do it. But this matters. This is important. And we're going to celebrate him. Yeah, Nito says that's awesome to celebrate him. And Jen says this will be wonderful. Yep. For those that won't be there, send him our best. What a great thing to do. Yeah, and he's a good dude. Super rough around the edges, but just a good dude. And he's very, very well thought of. And so we're going to have a good old time and make him feel like a king. the best that we can, and hope that what the doctors say is not correct, and everything continues on for 100 more years, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, just figured I'd tell you guys that's why, the main reason why I'm not doing it live, because typically what we would do is we would get everybody who's here together, like you guys have seen me do it with Mike and Jen, and Silver Lining, and Indiana Mike, and just whoever's here, American Roots, and do it. But we're gonna have our hands full, so that'll just have to be that. A week from tomorrow, we will have the Freedom Fest, and guys, I'm going to try, no promises, but I'm thinking what I'd like to do is go live for the fireworks.
Oh wow, that'll be great.
How would you guys feel about that? Would you be interested in watching the fireworks show live? I don't want to go live all day because I just can't monitor it. It'll be an absolute zoo. I can put a camera up and just let it go, and whatever is whatever, but you'll end up watching hours of nothing.
Well, yeah.
And then you just don't know who walks up to the camera and does what.
Whatever.
Yeah. So would you guys, the question I have for you guys is, would you be interested if we did the fireworks show live? Because I think I could probably figure that out. I think it'd be pretty neat to do. And then also there's another thing going on that may be interesting, which is Philip Sarnicki, which is running for governor in the state of Kansas, is kind of a libertarian. And, he's very anti-tax breaks for big companies, and he's pro-property rights, and he's a lot of these things. But anyway, his camp called me and asked if he could come. So I may give him the microphone, for 5 or 10 minutes and let him talk a little bit. So might be interesting, but I think that'd be interesting to broadcast as well. Live with Mike and Jen says you just have to mute the copyright music. No, you don't. Here's the thing is that as far as YouTube goes, if you use copyrighted music, I used it today. Tom McDonald, when I opened the live tonight, he just released that video today. It's brand new.
Oh yeah, they'll
but
just send us a
they just take all of the monetization off this video.
Yeah, which is fine.
And they give it to Tom McDonald, but I don't care. Knock yourself out. So, the copyright music will be fine. They just send it to somebody else. So
yeah,
you just don't get monetized. But again, I don't care about that. Terminator said yes from Canada, would love it. And did you guys know that in Japan, today is the 4th, and Japan is celebrating the 4th of July with the big fireworks show?
Huh.
Didn't Tom give you permission last time? Not officially. I don't know. I emailed them to make sure that it was okay. This is before I understood how the rules all worked, and I got a response from somebody from him. I don't think it was Tom though. But
it allowed it to play, but it didn't change the monetization.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It didn't. I don't remember, babe. It's been so long. And at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to tell you something. YouTube, you don't make any money on it.
Well, some people do, I guess. We don't.
We don't. Yeah. I mean, it's if I make $200 a month on YouTube, it's been a fabulous month. So, I mean, I don't even pay attention to it anymore. So let's see. Packrat says, through the day would be an eye in the sky, camera up on a pole, watching all of our freedom ants.
Right.
I'd rather watch your fireworks on TV than our cities in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And there'll be some really, really cool talks. I'm hoping that we have someone in the community running for county commissioner. I'm hoping I can get him to get up and talk a little bit too.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, it would be really cool. So we'll see how it goes. And again, the Sarnicki camp told me that he wanted to come, but until they show up, who knows,
Did you say Sarnicki camp?
Camp, yeah. Their political camp. This guy is not a career politician. He's a business guy. And but I really like a lot of his ideas. So we shall see.
You don't know him in person.
No, I don't know him. I never met him. How they got in contact with me is one of our state reps, or former state reps, is a guy named Randy Garber. And I've gotten to be good friends with Randy over the years. And he's super pro-freedom. And so that's how the connection was made, was through Rep Garber and then gubernatorial candidate Phil Sarnicki. So anyway, figured I'd let you guys know that. What else? Don't forget Harvest Festival, September 26th. And I believe Pat Miletich is coming to this one, right? Because we had to move the schedule around. I think this is the one that he'll be coming to. So make sure you come out for that. This is the one B is growing the pumpkins for.
Yes.
I still don't know any of the details because we haven't really worked on it yet. We're still trying to get to this next one. But we do know the date, which is September 26th. And I need you and MMR, if you guys are going to do it again, to get me a date for the Freeman Festivus.
Okay.
I don't need anything else. I just need the date. And that way I can begin to do that as well. Harry Kent Hepworth says fireworks live is a great celebration event for expressing freedom of oppression. Amen. Yeah, and it'll be really, really cool. It's going to be a big one this year, bigger than last year's. And last year's I thought was pretty exceptional. So
I thought it was great.
Yeah, well, I think that is all I've got on the farming slide. What do you think about all that stuff?
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
You excited?
Yes.
What are you excited about?
I'm going to see what you want to say.
You don't know what I want to say?
No, I want to see what you want to say.
Mm-hmm. More than normal?
Well, yeah, because it's special, right?
Well, I just want to talk about some history and some things that went on, and then use a story of our history to make our closing remarks before we leave here tonight.
Wonderful.
What do you think about that?
Let's do it.
Okay. What do you think? What do you know about freedom in our history?
Very little.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think we got it from? Where does our freedom come from? What happened? You know any of the stories? You want me to stop putting you on the spot?
Yeah. Let's you got less than an hour if you want to get through your slides.
Just fine. So I thought to get everybody in the mood, I'd play a quick video for you guys. And then after that, we'll start talking about freedom a little bit, which I think would be just absolutely.
Before the stars and stripes ever touched the sky, there were only men, ordinary men, willing to die for one sacred word: freedom. It was summer in Philadelphia. The air was heavy in the night. Candles burned against the silence as fear stood waiting by our side. No one knew what dawn would bring us. No one knew how this would end. But deep inside each heart was beating for a dream we must defend. We were fathers, we were brothers, simple men with shaking hands. But destiny was standing with us, calling us to take our stand. We chose freedom, we chose fire, we stood tall against the crown. One declaration changed forever. The day a nation was written down. From the silence came the thunder that the world still hears today. Before America stood proudly, brave men paved the way. Years of living under shadows, voices lost across the sea. Every law they forced upon us tried to steal what should be free. There upon that wooden table laid a promise carved in flame. Simple words but strong enough to change the world forever changed. There were no promises of glory, there was no safe road ahead. Every name we signed that evening could have marked the day we bled. We chose freedom, we chose fire, we stood tall against the crown. One declaration changed forever. The day a nation was written down. From the silence came the thunder that the world still hears today. Before America stood proudly, brave men paved the way. Paved the way. Ink can sometimes weigh much heavier than the sharpest sword in war. Every signature that touched that paper opened freedom's first great door. We gave our fortune, we gave our future. Some would give their very lives. But liberty had found its moment, and the dream would now survive. We chose freedom, we chose honor, though the cost was standing near. Every step we took together built the land we cherish here. From the ashes rose a promise, carried strong through every age, and the stars that wave above us were born upon that page. So when old glory starts to rise and freedom dances in the sky, remember all the men before us who dared to look death in the eye. Before the 50 stars were shining, before this land had found its name, there were simply men who stood there and whispered, America began.
Oh, let me put my big screen now. There we go. So what do you guys think of that? I thought that video was important because what it talks about is about ordinary people. And I think this matters so much. You know, we spend our time and we read history books and we think about these, you know, taller than life figures like George Washington and, you know, Thomas Jefferson and Paine and Adams and, you know, Franklin and all of these people. But the facts are they were just normal people, you know, and they were smart enough to understand what a statesman was. You know, politicians worry about what the next election cycle is. A statesman worries about what the next generation is. And they were afraid, you know, for their country. They were afraid what they were leaving behind. And we talked about that earlier, you know, in the live tonight about what legacy are we leaving. And, you know, they were willing to risk it all. You know, there's stories out there. I don't even know how much you guys know, but, you know, there's stories out there like Dr. Joseph Warren. If you don't know who he is, you know, he would have been a founding father. He would have signed the Declaration of Independence had he not died, you know. And or I think he would have. I guess I don't know that, but I would assume he would have. This is a guy that had a, you know, super prominent doctor's practice and gave it all up for this piece of fabric that flew in the sky, you know. And it's just amazing to me that these ordinary people did this. And why did they do it? Are they just so much tougher than we are? You know, did they just believe in something, you know, greater than them? Did they see? That's such an interesting point. Do you think they seen that they would go down in history? Did they even recognize that moment? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. What did their wives say? What do you suppose Thomas Jefferson's spouse said when he said, "Hey, babe, you know, love you, honey, but I got some work to do. I'll be back. I'll try to make it home for dinner." You know, what do you suppose, you know, that would have been like? You know, to me, that's just absolutely amazing to think about all of those things. And I promise you, it's in us. You know, it's in you and it's in me and it's in every single one of us, you know, that ability to do that. You know, Conserve Friend says, many lost their homes, their families, and their lives. Well, actually, most of them died penniless, you know, and certainly some, you know, some were killed, but it didn't matter. And why didn't it matter? You know, and, you know, me and Joe from American Roots had this big, long talk the other day about, does the flesh matter?
The flesh?
Does the flesh matter?
Oh, yeah. Flesh.
Flesh. You know, because we're here for just a moment and we're gone. And in the end, what matters? You know, are they going to remember what kind of car you drove? What kind of house you lived in? No, they're going to remember how you made them feel. Right? They're going to remember what you left on the battlefield. And that's all. That's all there is. And, you know, it worries me for our country and it worries me, but I also have great hope. Just like on September 11th, remember that feeling of patriotism after September 11th? You know, there was more flags bought the week after September 11th than at any time in recorded history. You know, and we sit here and we talk about patriotism. We talk about the flag. That doesn't mean that we, you know, by flying an American flag, that you're some supporter of child trafficking or $40 trillion in debt. Right? That is not what that means. It means that we're supportive of the idea of what America was. There's all kinds of history stories that go on. And I know many people will make this argument probably tonight or in the comments later that, well, that probably didn't happen, or it doesn't matter. Because again, it's the idea of what, America is. Let's see here. Squatchy says they knew righteousness. Jen says, I did see a video compilation of the people who came for the soccer games, how excited they were. Y'all talked about it last week, and it was truly touching to see what they saw America really is. Jen, this is such an important point, and it's been such a great reminder for me because I fall into the trap all the time of being mad at stuff. Being upset because my taxes are too high, being upset because of whatever it is, whatever the topic is for the day. And sometimes I think we need to step back and from the bark and, take a look at the forest, because those people coming over here from Europe, they're in far worse shape, right? I mean, they don't have freedom of any of these things. And, one of the things that stuck with me, Jen, the most when I watched all of those videos, they talked about people being patriotic and people having pride in their country, and where they come from, that just doesn't exist. We talked last week on the live about how Americans are really the 1%. There really is American exceptionalism, because 99% of people born to the world throughout history will never know the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of press, the freedom to petition their government. They'll never understand the protections against illegal search and seizure or the right to bear arms.
Which is crazy to think about.
They never will. And yet here we are, this generation, so caught up in keeping up with the Joneses, and so caught up with reality TV, and so caught up with the left hates the right, so caught up with black versus white, or whatever it is, whatever games that get played in front of us. Are we really going to be the generation that gives it back? Are we going to be the 1% that had it and that we were too stupid to keep it? Maybe at the end of the day, that's what those originally founding fathers stood up for.
It's crazy that you say give it back.
It's what we do.
I know.
I mean, would you say it a different way?
Well,
because you can make the argument that it's taken from you, but
that sounds better.
It's a lot easier to play the victim that way.
Yeah.
Instead of having to recognize someday.
Well, if you don't stand up, then you're part of the problem.
Right. If you're not willing to do something about it. Right. So many people sit on the couch, guys. I can't even tell you how many people I know bitch, moan, but do nothing about it. They don't stand up. They don't do anything. They don't go to and guys, this is not a violent argument. This is about going to a county commissioner meeting. This is about going to a school board meeting. Or even more important than any of that, revolution starts at your dinner table.
Vote.
Freedom starts with the relationship you have between you and your spouse. It all starts right there, and we've given all of that away, right? We've tried so hard to make men women and women men. We've just
put them against each other.
We've just given it all away. I've said often on my live that it blows me away that the world has taken away what makes a woman such an incredible creature. We're not supposed to be equal. We're never equal. We'll never be equal. B and I are not equal. We are not. Equal means the same.
Equal in value.
Yeah. 100%. Our lives are worth the same, but we are not equal. There are things you're far superior than me at.
We have different roles.
And different thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? RN says, Tag, how are the data centers affecting your state? They're fighting for them. They're trying to put them in, but I don't think there have been a lot. There have been some counties that have effectively removed them and gotten them rid of. There's other counties that are laying down and saying, oh yeah, bring it to us. This brings up an interesting point. How many people think AI is a bad thing? I'd love to hear. I have a comment on it, but I'd love to hear it. Let's see here. Kent says, be nice of some of those Washington today had some of the same character, especially now with John Thune and the Save America Act. Yeah, it would be nice, but unfortunately they've lost their way too. But let me ask you something, Kent. How are we any different? Because we've lost our way too. It's easy to point the finger at Washington and to say, hey, you're to blame, but yet we, the people, have sat on our asses the whole time. We, the people, have given our freedoms away, and we've given that away. Because at the end of the day, the governors rule at the consent of the governed. Right? We did it. They didn't do it. They just did with what we gave them. You see here, Nito says, too many years of public indoctrination. Edward Braden, welcome in. Good to see you. RN says, if we, the people, stood together as one voice, we could win. 100%. 100%. That's why I always preach this message of it doesn't matter whether what your race, your creed, your religion, your gender, none of that matters. If we can agree that freedom should be the same for everybody, and that should apply to everybody, it should apply to everybody equal. If we can come to terms and we can stand on that, we can make big ground. But the problem is, just like the European people we talked about, everything they were told in the media about America was wrong. I promise you, everything we're being told is wrong too. There's not as many black people out there that hate white people, or white people that hate black people, or women that hate men and men that hate women. There's not as many Democrats that hate Republicans and Republicans that hate Democrats that's shown us in the mainstream media. This is all propaganda to keep us fighting each other. I'll guarantee you, and I know this from all of my studies, our founders, whether it was Washington or Franklin or Jefferson or Adams or any of them, they didn't agree on everything. There was many writings that you can read about where they disagreed on a main point. But what they knew was that they wanted to leave this country in a better place for their kids and their grandkids. They understood what it meant to be a statesman. Squatchy says, stars under our own roof. The whole nucleus thingy. Yes, 100%. That's where it starts. Starts in your home. It 100% starts in your home. Jen says, I think more of the younger generation is finally realizing that they have been deceived. When God wanted David to be king, he got Goliath first. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. God didn't give David a crown. He gave him Goliath. Right? He gave Noah a flood. Maybe at the end of the day that it's not a matter of anything more than you're being built. And maybe it's going to take that special generation. I hope the millennials got it in them, because Gen X is aging out, right? No? Are you saying I'm not aging out?
No, yeah, you are.
Or you're saying you're not aging out?
No, I just had a song pop in my head. Sorry.
Oh my God. I love my wife. You were one of the most intelligent people I know, but that wasn't one of the moments.
It's okay.
Harry says, the efforts before the revolution were tremendous, exhausting, and dangerous. However, after the victory, the real work and effort commences and is everlasting. This is a super important point because, a lot of people think our freedom started, in 1776 on, July the 3rd was actually when they signed it. But when July the 4th is when it all got sent out. And then July the 5th, when it actually became official, but that it started right there. But the truth is it started way before that. And it lasted much longer than that. That's the moment in history, that it kind of points all of those things out, but it's a lot more than that. Squatchy says we allowed him to take it. That's exactly right. And I think before we spend too much time bitching about the politicians lining their pockets, we have to remember the fact that we created the environment for them to do it. We weren't on watch anymore, right? Something happened at some point in time along the way, and that maybe the greatest generation came back, and then the forgotten generation, and then, Generation X, and somewhere along the way we become self-absorbed, and we just forgot what it really meant and what our duty was as Americans. And I think it's really important that we focus on those things. It's, Jen brought up the people from Europe. I would really encourage all of you guys, go watch some of those videos because they're really, really, really amazing to watch how they view it, Let's see here. Nito says, talk about aging out. Us boomers are really aging out. Yeah. Earlier, Kent was talking about it happened long before. And so I thought I'd share with you guys some breaking news. I like to do good news, right? Breaking news, 72 killed resisting gun confiscation in Massachusetts. National Guard units seeking to confiscate a cache of recently banned assault weapons were ambushed by elements of paramilitary extremist factions. Military and law enforcement sources estimated that 72 were killed and more than 200 injured before government forces were compelled to withdraw. Speaking after the class, Massachusetts Governor Thomas Gage declared that the extremist factions, which was made up of local citizens, has links to radical right-wing tax protest movements. Gage blamed the extremists for recent incidents of vandalism directed against Internal Revenue offices. The governor, who described the group's organizers as criminals, issued an executive order authorizing the summary arrest of any individual who had interfered with the government's efforts to secure law and order. The military raid on the extremist arsenal followed a widespread refusal by the local citizenry to turn over recently outlawed assault weapons. Gage issued a ban on military-style assault weapons and ammunition earlier in the week. This decision followed a meeting in earlier this month between the government and the military leaders, at which the governor authorized the forcible confiscation of these illegal arms. One government official speaking on the condition of anonymity pointed out that none of these people would have been killed had the extremists obeyed the law and turned over their weapons voluntarily. Government troops initially succeeded in confiscating a large supply of outdated weapons and ammunition. However, troops attempting to seize arms and ammunition in Lexington met the resistance from heavily armed extremists who had been tipped off regarding the government's plans. During a tense standoff in the Lexington Town Park, National Guard Colonel Francis Smith, commander of the government operation, ordered the armed group to surrender and return to their homes. The impasse was broken by a single shot, which was reportedly fired by one of the right-wing extremists. 8 civilians were killed in the ensuing exchange. Ironically, the local citizenry blamed the government forces rather than the extremists for the civilian deaths. Before order could be restored, armed citizens from surrounding areas had descended upon the guard units. Colonel Smith, finding his forces overmatched by both armed mob, ordered the retreat. Governor Gage has called upon the citizens to support the state National Joint Task Force in this effort to restore law and order. The government also demanded the surrender of those responsible for planning and leading the attack against the government troops. Samuel Adams, Paul Revere, and John Hancock, who have been identified as the ringleaders of the extremist factions, remain at large. And this, my fellow American, who do not know your history, this is how the American Revolution began on April 20th, 1775. What do you think of that?
The outlaws.
Well, I think what's crazy about the story
bad
is it's written to kind of imply it's modern day. But what they're really talking about is there was a time where our founding fathers were seen as terrorists.
With bad guys.
Right? They were the extremist factions. And enough heat came and enough pressure until eventually one shot was fired. You know, and we talked about, all of us getting together as people and standing together. That's what avoids things like this. If we stay divided, this is what we're destined, to experience.
And if we stand together, then we're bigger in numbers.
Packrat says, not the B reports that woke Alexandria Virginia had asked people to turn in any of the neighbors that shoot off fireworks on the 4th. The clapbacks are plentiful and hilarious. Yeah, Packrat, purposefully, when I'm on Facebook, when I see those posts, I get in and accuse the people of being browncoats, and I get in there and talk about tyranny. And I do it all over the country, and you won't believe some of the reports I get, some of the comments I get back. But at the end of the day, don't you think it's crazy how they're asking people to turn people in for illegal fireworks and how that relates back, to these early days? Let's see here. Loper's dad had the greatest generation. The stories he told us when they hit Okinawa. Oh yeah, those are warriors. Nito said, I had an awesome social studies American history teacher in high school, in turn called out my son's teacher for not teaching truthfully or correctly. Kent says, but don't you think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about trust? We sent them to Washington under the trust that they would do the will of the people. Maybe it's naive. No, Kent, I think I 100% agree with you. We sent them there to do trust, and they failed us, and we did nothing for it. That's my point. I mean, how does a guy like Mitch McConnell get elected for 45 years? Right? How is it that, Hillary Clinton's not in jail for 30,000 deleted emails? I mean, I can go on and on this list. I agree with you 100%. We trusted, and then what we said is, let's go back to what we were doing and forget about it. They'll be all right.
Turn a blind eye.
Right. It doesn't work without some kind of follow through, and until they're held accountable. So yes, I think I agree with you that in a lot of cases, especially early on, was done with great intentions. Right, but the people have been asleep.
Well, and we keep turning the blind eye. That when you see something that's wrong, just happens all the time.
Would you post this on your YouTube community page? Are you talking about this exact page that's up on the screen? What are you referring to there, concerned friends? But I always thought my vote counted, that my representative would represent me, not big interest. Yeah, and you thought wrong, Kent. I mean, I thought the same thing. There was a time when, I joined the service because I really thought we were going to go spread freedom.
Change the world.
Right. The problem is that's not what's happening. Right. I mean, your representative, do you think that they've represented you and not big interest? Have they stopped the $40 trillion in debt that we're, fastly approaching? I don't think they have. Minnesota law bans the sale, possession, and use of explosive fireworks, anything that detonates or produces a loud bang, fireworks that leave the ground, aerial devices. So sad. Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. I know they're using the fires that are going on across a lot, some of the country as, oh, it's a fire danger. You guys never forget, you can have freedom or you can have safety, but you can't have both. And you're going to have to pick it somewhere along the way, and I can conserve friends. I think I can do that. I'll try to remember when I get off the live. Completely sad, completely sad. We were talking about this event that happened, prior to and what started the revolution. But, there was a lot of things that led up to the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence. And if you guys don't know what these things are, you really, really, really need to go research them. In 1764, the Sugar Act, followed by the Currency Act, followed by the Stamp Act, the Quartering Act, the Declaratory Act, the Townsend Revenue Act, the Boston Massacre, the Tea Act, followed by the Boston Tea Party. Right, the Coercive Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the First Continental Congress, and the battles of Lexington and Concord, which was the first fighting on to the Battle of Bunker Hill. And Bunker Hill is actually where Dr. Joseph Warren was killed, right, in 1775. A matter of
That's a movie, right?
What's
Bunker
that?
Hill.
Oh, I'm sure there's
Bunker Hill.
I'm sure there's lots of movies on it.
I thought you've seen.
Yeah.
I thought you've watched something like that.
I wonder what Dr. Warren would talk about today. He died a year before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He was one of the early adopters. He just didn't quite make it that far.
What do you would say about today's world?
What would he say about the next year?
Oh,
and was
after...
I'm sure he would say his sacrifice was worth it. I would assume he would say that. I mean, I would say that. So we talked about what happened, prior and leading up to it. Let's talk a little bit about the actual signing itself and why today, July the 3rd, is such an important day. It was a cool and sunny and pretty, if ordinary, summer day in Philadelphia, but inside the Pennsylvania State House, delegates of the Second Continental Congress were putting the finishing touches on the revolution. On this day, in July 3rd, 1776, the final version of the Declaration of Independence was approved. The documents were imperfect, but it promised that people could choose their own future. Its authors had created something that would outlive all of them. Remember, we talked about
all of them.
All of them. And this is why no one will remember your name, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. Less than a month before, Delegate Richard Henry Lee had urged Congress to declare independence, arguing that foreign governments, mainly France, could then recognize the United States. Some delegates were hesitant, but a committee was appointed to draft the documents. The writers were Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Ben Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert R. Livingston. Jefferson wrote the bulk of it, and the committee edited and the text before it was introduced to the Congress in late June. Revisions began on July the 1st. And on July the 2nd, after the arrival of British forces in New York lent the proceedings new urgency, Congress did, in fact, declare independence with a vote of 12 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstained. And interesting enough, New York was the only colony to abstain. But isn't that crazy? 13 people. How many times do we hear people talk about we can't do anything?
Mm-hmm.
13 people. And 1 didn't want to play ball. So really it was 12. People. The final version was approved. John Dunlap, the Congress printers, churned out some 200 copies of the typeset document that night. The copies were delivered to political figures, including George Washington, Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, who had it read aloud to the Army and state representatives, and the text was soon printed in newspapers. It was printed in newspapers in England, too, where King George III spent the next month reminding all of his ministers that America was in a state of rebellion and that it should be treated accordingly. Meanwhile, the familiar engrossed copy of the Declaration was crafted and signed by most of the delegates in August. The first official response came from Lord Richard Howe, commander of the British forces in North America, dismissing the colonists as misguided Americans. And he said, and I quote, an extravagant and inadmissible claim of independence. The king's response in October struck a similar note, and the war was on. But I think it's so interesting to think about all the things that happened up to that.
Extravagant and
inadmissible
claim
to independence. I wonder if some people in the deep state or whatever it is think that our claim to freedom is misguided. They think that we're extravagant and inadmissible in our claims of freedom and independence. I wonder how that's viewed. What's so amazing about this moment in time is this is what gets all the press, right? The Declaration of Independence, but look at everything that happened before. you know, and I'm only talking about little pieces. We could talk for hours and hours and hours about all of the, you know, the Battle of Bunker Hill or Concord or Lexington or the forming of the first Continental Congress, you know, all the way back to the, you know, the Tea Act and the Boston Tea Party. You know, all of those things happened long before. Say long before. So, like an example, the Boston Tea Party was 3 years prior to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Let's see here. Jen says, lots of drone shows. How many of those drones will be observing the people flocking much? And what a shame that is. You know,
because of the
yeah.
4th of July, they're going to do drones.
They're moving to drones. So, like Lawrence already did. Did you know that? So, if you go to Lawrence, Kansas, which for you guys who don't know Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas is kind of like Leftistville, Hippieville. They've moved all to drones. Nothing's allowed anymore. Like, what gives you the right to tell me what I'm allowed to do? I mean, first of all. Second of all, gunpowder and explosions are our tradition. Many of those European people that were talking about America talked a lot about that. Like, you guys have like big guns. You have big, you know, it's in our blood, you know. Nito said, I know here in Nevada, our 2 Senate reps are voted in by just 2 cities, Vegas and Reno, with the colleges. The rest of the state votes totally different. Yep. And it's unheard, isn't it? G-Dog said, I didn't hear the whole story, but NPR was trying to tell me today that the Declaration of Independence was written for our hatred of Indians, not our disdain of living under Great Britain. Well, I think that everything's left to interpretation, G-Dog, but that is not how I read it. And I spent a lot of time reading it. I'm super fascinated by it, mainly by the psychological part. Like what was in these men and women who did this? Because it's not just men. I make the mistake of using men all the time. But there were female spies working with Paul Revere who were carrying documents, you know, from one, tactical operation command center to the next tactical operation command center. And many of them also gave their lives. Dan says, in addition to learning U.S. history, folks should learn Roman history. The Punic Wars of Rome were like World War II to the U.S. and ultimately led to the fall of the Republic and led to the rise of the empire. They definitely say history repeats itself. You know, another one I would add to the Roman history is the Egyptian history. Because the Egyptian empire, the way it kind of crumbled kind of towards the end, there's a lot of things that I think, kind of line up with what happens today. Wonder if there's he says, wonder if there's a correlation to large population centers are liberal and rural is more Republican. Liberals will say it's due to level of education, while conservatives will say it's due to work ethic. I think that maybe there's some correlation there, but I know plenty of conservatives in the city, and I know liberals out here in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, Packrat says, it's a wonder that NPR didn't get defunded before now. I actually agree. Where are we at here? We're right here. All right. This was the media, guys, attacks us at every corner. We talk about the stories that the Europeans get about what America is. It's dirty and the people are rude. And then they come over and they're like, what the hell? Yep. It isn't anything like that. They say America has no culture, and what they mean is that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and English common law and the language itself, Thanksgiving and the 4th of July, the nuclear family, the work ethic, the rock and roll country, plus every innovation that turned this place into the world's superpower don't count as culture. It's just whiteness, this blank or oppressive thing that exists only to be critiqued and replaced. And this line has become so dominant, so institutionalized in schools, media, HR departments, and elite culture that it's now the standard water everybody swims in. Most people don't even clock in anymore because it's treated like obvious truth instead of a radical self-insure project it actually is. But this isn't a good faith argument at all, and it carries clear ulterior motives to justify the erasure of America's history, core, and the people who built it. Because once you get Americans to accept that their culture is neither non-existent or evil, then mass demographic change, open borders, and tearing down the old traditions suddenly look like moral progress instead of an external attack on everything that made the country function in the first place. The reality, though, is that America has one of the strongest and most distinctive cultures on earth, forged from Western and Christian roots and supercharged by liberty and merit. Ooh, that's important. And merit. And the World Cup visitors are reminding us of exactly that right now. Germans are going viral saying, if you want to hate America, watch the news. Japanese fans are writing poetry about the unlimited free chips and salsa, while others are losing it over Texas brisket, ranch dressing, and every Waffle House at 2 a.m. The Buc-ee's and the ridiculous size of Walmart and the free drink refills that never end. These outsiders are cutting straight through the institutionalized narrative and showing us that we've been gaslit into taking for granted. And that is abundant, open, high trust, high energy culture that actually works. Americans built it. They live it every day, and they are not apologizing or handing it over. I thought that was
hand it over.
a great article, because again, I'm guilty of it, and watching all of these Europeans talk about the greatness of America made me think, you know what, I've taken it for granted, because I complain about it all the time and I bitch about it all the time. And so it was a really great, kind of reminder for me, is that, where do we get our perspective from? We talked about that last week, right? We were talking our closing remarks last week. We're talking about where do we get our perspective from? And if you watch, the mainstream media, we're a horrible culture, and it's full of racism and bigotry, right? It's full of predators and criminals and gangs. But the truth is that's such a small piece of what America is.
Yeah.
I watched many videos of, these Irish people who came for the World Cup were leaving, and the Cowboys were riding next to them, with a horse, running as fast as they can, waving the American flag. And there's just so much of that. Or, there's a story about a Nigerian soccer team that landed in Kansas, ironically, at this little regional airport. And, when they got off, there was...
Why?
Was it
an accident?
No, they landed like in, I don't know what little airport it was. It didn't say. But anyway, when they landed, there was 500 Americans there to greet them.
Oh.
Flying the American flag.
They were excited to see him.
Yep. Let's see here. The Praetorian Guard still stands and makes the decisions. It's just not elite military unit. Yeah, I knew what you meant, boss. See, I even said it right the first time, right? Which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Just so you guys see it. The city of Buffalo canceled its downtown 4th of July fireworks for America's 250th birthday. The single biggest Independence Day of any of us will see in our lifetimes. The city officials claimed there was no appropriate site, but they had no trouble at all finding space and resources to raise the Somali flag in front of the city hall yesterday for Somali Flag Day. Basically, what they're now saying is that it's because of the heat. They have to protect us from the heat. I wonder what George Washington, when he crossed the Delaware, thought about the cold, right? Or those people, who were at siege at Concord and Lexington, wonder if it was too hot for them. I mean, are we really that weak? Or is this just propaganda trying to tell us we're weak?
Right. Well, it's if it's okay to stay home, then just stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're going to make it the norm. They're going to tell people to not go. It's too hot. You don't want to. It's too expensive.
Right. You're too weak. You can't handle it.
It's too dry.
Right. Which is completely absurd.
Then go to a different town.
It is completely absurd. We can absolutely handle it.
Go celebrate somewhere else.
Yeah, I made a comment on a Colorado post where they canceled the fireworks. They had a bunch of wildfires over there, and I got a comment back that said, I just said tyrants. And they came back and they said, so this guy came back and he said, this is completely inappropriate. 3 firefighters have died.
Doing what?
Fighting fires. And so what they're saying is they're worried about the fireworks. But my point is still the same. I mean, more in that same period of time, more people died in a car wreck. They're not outlawing cars. Right? I mean, so to me, it's completely silly.
Yep.
So Jen says Goldilocks syndrome. Dan says they're trying to get people to trust in the government over their own eyes. Yes, this is a great point. They're programming us to be soft, fat, weak, unmotivated, mad at each other. Right?
Yeah.
When the fact of the matter is we are capable of so much, if we'll just stop listening to the propaganda. But they had room to raise the Somali flag. Sorry.
Flag.
I did not mean that. Intense mental swearing. Right.
Did you say, I thought you said flag.
No, I said fag.
Oh, I did not.
Didn't mean to.
I didn't hear that.
Yep. Philadelphia also canceled the 4th of July parade due to heat wave. Philadelphia.
Too hot.
Okay. Where the Liberty Bell is. Where they signed the Declaration of Independence.
I wonder if it was hot then.
Suppose July was hot back then. It'd be interesting. I wish I would have put it in here. And I don't even know if they have records of that. But what was the temperature on July the 3rd, of 1776? What was the temperature back then? But anyway, I think it's crazy that they would cancel it. If I was president, we would cancel it for no reason. Bring in whatever we had to do, put extra, EMTs on, I guess. Have we really gotten that soft? I think it's absolutely crazy. Mount Holly Township and its police department have officially canceled the town's 4th of July celebration and fireworks show, citing concerns over recent violent incidents and disruptive behavior involving groups of teens. So
you better stay home because of the teenagers.
Right. So we can't have fireworks because it's too hot. We can't have fireworks because of the teenagers. My generation, there is zero chance we were letting the teenagers control anything. Zero chance. Dan's laughing at me.
Edward Our says, parents' generation either. Could you imagine your dad being like, "Oh, the teenagers, we can't go out there."
Edward says, the older I get, the less interest I have in watching fireworks go off, but I still plan to be with friends on the 11th. You know what, Edward? I fall into this trap sometimes too. And let me tell you something. But first of all, you do you, right? Freedom only works if it works for everybody. But we have to resist all of that, because what they try to do is they try to tie our 4th of July celebration to the state. They try to tie it to the government when it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the idea of what America was. We should be celebrating it more and more and more.
Well, if he doesn't want to watch fireworks, he doesn't want
to watch I understand. I totally understand.
To do that.
I totally understand. And again, as I began, you do you, right? Freedom only works if it works for everybody. Will be cool, says Fruity and Slip. Misinformed says, wow, you're a very sexy couple. Well, thank you. She's way prettier than I am, but Yeah, Misinformed said, nice stream. Well, Misinformed, we are super happy you're here. G-Dog says, we could trade states like players on a sports team. I'll trade California for Alberta. I like that deal, right? Misinformed says, remember those boxes of caps that we dropped big rocks on and get burned? It was great. No soft kids when we were growing up. Yes. Dude, I had yard darts. We would throw yard darts as high in the air as we could. I never remember a single case on the news of someone dying from a yard dart, but good luck getting one of them. Could you imagine what would happen today if the police drove by and seen your kids playing with yard darts? Oh my goodness. We've completely gotten soft, or they're making us think we're soft. Because I don't think we're that soft.
There's still kids out there being reckless.
Yep. Well, they've always been reckless. Hey, when I was younger, we would do what was called road tripping. We'd buy beer and we'd drive around out in the country. That's what we would do. Everyone was fine. That is
dangerous. Not everybody's fine.
What I'm saying, would you trade what's going on back then for what's going on now? Because I would.
I don't think that people should be drinking around.
I'm not saying they should be out. You're missing the point.
You're saying
you can't bubble wrap everybody.
There's other activities they could be doing.
You can have freedom or you can have safety, but you can't have both. Yeah. Misinformed said, yes, jarts. Yep. I remember the 200th, says Nitos, celebrating the 1776-1976 train coming through. Would love. I was 3 years old. We'd get knocked into the next century if we acted like the morons on videos nowadays. That's what I'm saying. I mean, my dad wouldn't play. Misinformed said, I had them too. Misinformed said, remember the way we'd flop over the seats of the car when our mother was driving? Yes, that's another, you know how many backs of pickups I rode in down the interstate? Many. Or how many trucks were in the parking lot of school that had shotguns and rifles in the back? Nobody said a word. There was no school shootings. Maybe they're making us weak, and maybe that weakness is what spawns a lot of these things. You know what? When I was in school, I didn't pick a fight unless I knew I could win because they would fight back. What an amazing motivation. Conserve friend said we did the same thing. Hey, Tulip Angel. What is going on? Tulip Little Angel. Grok said the high temperature in Philadelphia on July 4th, 1776 was 76 degrees. I love history.
Huh.
If I could give you a gold star, I would do it. Because I love that. Absolutely love that. It's a little hotter than 76 degrees. It's like 96 degrees.
Yeah.
But I can promise you this, that would not stop me. 0, 0, 0 chance. Good morning, everybody, says JW. Happy 4th of July, even though it's the 3rd. It's 4th of July Eve. As we get ready to celebrate America's birthday tomorrow, we remember Christmas Eve when General George Washington and his men, hungry, cold, and exhausted, battled the Delaware to kick the Redcoats on the next day. This is really important. Look, Misinformed got you a gold star. Yep. Pack Rat says, when you mentioned gun racks in the back of pickups at high school, my Texas bride says, yep, it was. Many. And you know what the crazy thing is? I never thought anything about it. Like it really wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It was just part of what it was.
Because back then people didn't go into schools and shoot them.
Yep. Yep. So let's remember that day where George Washington crossed the Delaware. And I'll guarantee you those people were tired. I'll guarantee you those people were hungry.
Cold.
Right. American Patriot in Jacksonville Walmart gets overwhelmed when instead of 4th of July music, they're hearing Islamic chanting blasting through the speakers of a Jacksonville Walmart. Again, we allow it. Reagan reminded us that freedom isn't passed along during the bloodstream. It got to be fought for, protected, taught, and passed along to the next generation. And this is our challenge today. I'm going to skip this real quick. Let's get rid of that right there. Just for a second. Let me see here. There we go. Nito said, yeah, us too, Tag. Pick up, bed riding, shotguns in truck windows, riding bikes without safety gear. I never wore a helmet, ever, riding my bike. We were the generation of parent. My parents wanted to get rid of us. Go play. See it dark, right? Yours too.
Yeah.
B, when she was growing up, her mom would kick her out of the house to go play, come back at dark in Phoenix, Arizona.
It was Peoria, but yeah.
I mean, you know. Dan says, and people today don't believe me when I tell them that everyone brought guns to school in their trucks. So Dan Redding, and I've told you guys this story a long time. Me and Dan were buds. We went to high school together. We had a smoking lounge in our high school.
That is crazy.
Me and Dan would go out for lunch and hang out in the smoking lounge, smoking cigarettes, playing hacky sack. Dan, my lion, Dan.
We did not have a smoking area in our school.
Misinformed says, I live in communist Massachusetts. Squatchy says, out here, we have so many animal keeping folks that don't want the fireworks because it scares their animals. One way I see, but another, I'd rather have freedom. Again, at the end of the day, right, I think that it is, you make, just back on my farm, Squatchy, I'm worried. My dogs, specifically because the one was shot, I have to make preparations for that animal. And that's what I'm doing. I went and spent the money. I built kennels so that when it comes time to light the fireworks off, I'm going to lock her up.
Yeah, their neighbors are trying to light fireworks off, and he tried to bring the dog into the house. And I'm like, this is an outside dog.
She just trembles.
But she can't just come into the house. She has no house rules. So she's like, or house etiquette. She will be all over.
Pack Rat said, and she carried a boot knife at school. She won't want it at a school fundraiser.
Oh, that is crazy.
You know? Yeah. G-Dog says, canceled due to violent acts of teens. Geez, first math was hard. Now teens are taking over cities. This is my point.
Math is hard.
Right. And Gary Davis said, I'm pretty sure I went to high school with George Washington. I won a throwing knife from a magazine sales contest in middle school. Parson Grove said, we had to step away from the video. Back now. Happy to have you back. What do these do-gooders do during a thunderstorm? Hide, I guess. Conserve Friend says, our smoking area at our high school was outside any door. Ours was kind of in the middle in a courtyard. I could tell you stories of things we did, but that probably would be
not a good idea.
Yeah. Guys, it's an hour and 58 minutes. We're going to get out of here, but I think before we give you our parting words, I want to tell you guys another story from history. Yeah, no, it's really good. I think it just absolutely really matters, and to understand the story. And you guys familiar with the War of 1812, because we talked about what happened before the Declaration. We talked about what happened during the Declaration. Let's talk a little bit about events that happened after the Declaration. You guys familiar with the thing called the Battle of Baltimore, which happened again during the War of 1812 on September the 13th. And ironically, on September 11th, another September 11th, huh? On September 11th, do you know that the White House was bombed by the British? A lot of people didn't know that. Anyway, the Battle of Baltimore was obviously in 1812. And there was a guy during the Battle of Baltimore, and his name was Francis Scott Key, and he was an attorney. And remember that he's an attorney because this is really important to the story, but he was actually against the war. He was not for the War of 1812, but he was chosen to negotiate prisoner exchange at Fort Henry. So these prisoners were being housed in the bottom of this boat, which was out in the harbor. And so Fort McHenry had some British prisoners. So anyway, they were going to go and negotiate an exchange. So they agreed on this 1-to-1 split. Again, keep in mind, this was after that September 11th event. So Mr. Key goes down in the bottom of this boat, and he walks down in there, and there's all of these men in all these cages, and they're all broken, right? They've been battling for days. They're tired. They're exhausted. It probably smelled like feces and urine. They probably weren't being fed, and they were completely broken. But he told them, he said, yo, dude, you're going to be free. We're going to send you home. Can you imagine the roller coaster ride of being in a prison cell in the bottom of a boat, smelling like feces, smelling like urine, and then herein walks an American, and says, hey, you're going to be free. Could you imagine that the change in all of that? It would be super exciting, would it not? Well, Mr. Key goes back up to the top of the deck, and unfortunately, the British commander said, well, we're going to honor our deal, but there's one more condition. And that one condition is that you must lower your flag at Fort McHenry. Key said, wait a second. Fort McHenry isn't even really a military base. In fact, most of the people that are on the fort are women and children, because at the time there was about 1,000 people there. 300 of them were regular army. There was 1,000 people there. And he's like, this makes no sense. And the British commander there said, well, you can have safety, but you got to lower your flag. Does this remind you of anything today? You can be safe if you take the jab, right? You can be safe if you follow the rules. You can be safe. Do you think they took the safety? See, after that was done, after the British commander told him the New Deal, Kent went and broke the news to the men. Could you imagine the despair? So here's these guys, right, who've been in battle all this time. Then they're in this cell with feces and urine, and they're broken. And an American comes in and says, "We're going to send you free," only to come back and say, "Well, except there's one condition: we must lower the flag." So Fort McHenry refused to lower the flag, and shortly after that, had to experience 25 straight hours of bombs that fell all through the night. They were attacked by the entire British fleet. And if you read your history documents, there was 55 boats a mile off the harbor, and continuously bombed them for over 55 hours. For 25 hours. While all of this was going on, he was going back down in the deck, and he was trying to keep the prisoners, up. And the prisoners kept asking one question. And what, surprisingly, wonder what they would do today. The question wasn't, when are they going to take the flag down? The question was, is it still there? Is the flag still there?
Oh.
Right?
I know where this is going.
Commanding British officer then asked Key, he said, do your people not understand? Do they not get it? This is a hopeless situation. Key replied, Christian Americans will die on their feet. They will not live on their knees. The flag actually fell several times, and a lot of people don't know this, but the British Army actually began to target the flag because they recognized it as a symbol, and it became the primary target. And a lot of people think, because the flag still stood, that it never fell, but the truth is it did fall. And every time that flag fell, there were patriots there to pick it back up, and then they would give their lives, and someone would replace them. If you look back into history, they talk about the crooked flag because the flag wasn't sitting straight. And the story goes that it was crooked because it was held up by the bodies of the patriots. From this experience, a song was created called The Battle of Fort McHenry. I wonder if you guys have ever heard it. The song was later changed to the Star Spangled Banner. I know you know the words. Well, I know you know at least some of them. At every ball game we go to, and at concerts and all kinds of things, we hear these words. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held, the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched. A rampart is a fort, right? So the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free in the home of the brave. And so he was telling this story, but I don't know if you guys know or not, but that song actually has 4 verses, right? And I want to share the last one with you guys tonight. And one thing I find super fascinating about the last one is the person that wrote the song was not a songwriter, was an attorney. And so are you curious what the attorney's closing remarks were? Because I've spent my whole career with attorneys, right? Closing remarks are a big deal, right? So this is what he said in his closing remarks. He said, "Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave, O the land of the free and the home of the brave." You know, I often wonder what would have happened if those patriots would have just been too busy. What if if it just so happened that they were paralyzed by this threat of retaliation? What if they were just too concerned about how standing up to the world would affect their business? What if they were just too comfortable? I wonder how many of those patriots skipped that day because their kids had a soccer game. My parting words to you tonight is this: you know what to do. You already know. You're just negotiating with comfort. Get uncomfortable. B?
The first step to getting uncomfortable is to get accountable. Take responsibility for your family's needs.
Yep. And that is freedom, because freedom is accountability. Anyway, guys, we love you guys. We are going to skip a week, right? And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Again, I'll try to go live. But until then, be out. Tag out. Good night, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.